Hello scholars, in this video we're going to look at the study guide for Missouri Civics Initiative Test number 5, so let's get right to it. Alright, so again we're looking at Missouri Civics Initiative Study Guide number 5, and you will want to also have the handout of the study guide from class. Okay, just as a reminder, the Missouri Civics Initiative is a state law. And we've talked about this before, but we're complying with the state law by dividing the 100 questions over 5 tests. And so we are on the last one with test number 5. So be sure that you have a copy of the study guide. Paper copies are in the classroom, and there's also study sets on Quizlet, so check the links in Teams. All right, our first question is, what is Benjamin Franklin famous for? Well, Ben Franklin was a U.S. diplomat. That means that he went to other countries to represent the United States. That diplomats represent their countries by speaking to the governments of other countries. Ben Franklin was also the oldest member of the Constitutional Convention. He was the first Postmaster General of the United States, and he was the writer of Poor Richard's Almanac, which was kind of like a magazine. And he started the first free libraries in the United States, but probably the thing he was most famous for was he was a scientist and inventor, famous for experiments with electricity. So Benjamin Franklin was one of the most famous men in the world at the time, and he's the oldest member of the Constitutional Convention and a famous scientist and inventor. Question number 2, who is the father of our country? And the answer, of course, is George Washington. He was the first president. He was also the general during the American Revolutionary War, and he was known as the father of our country. As I just mentioned, he was the first president, and that's our third question. Who was the first president of the United States? And, of course, the answer is George Washington. Question 4, what territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? And the answer is the Louisiana Territory. It's sometimes called the Louisiana Purchase, and sometimes just called Louisiana. But this large area of land was purchased from France in 1803. And here you can see a map that shows the Louisiana Purchase and how it nearly doubled the size of the United States. Question number 5, name the wars fought by the United States during the 1800s. And there are 4. First was the War of 1812, then the Mexican-American War, then the Civil War, and finally the Spanish-American War. These are the wars that were fought during the 1800s, and so keep those wars in your mind as wars of the 1800s, because we will also need to know wars of the 1900s. All right, the next question is number 6. Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. And that, of course, is the Civil War, or the war between the states. That's kind of an older name for it. It's mostly just called the Civil War or the American Civil War. Number 7, what problems led to the Civil War? And the most important one, of course, was slavery, but also economics were a factor, and so were states' rights. But slavery was the biggest issue of the American Civil War. Number 8, what are several important things done by Abraham Lincoln? And he is known for a number of things. He freed the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation. He preserved or saved the Union, and he led the United States during the Civil War. He was our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. Number 9, what did the Emancipation Proclamation do? And it freed the slaves in the Confederate States. So the word emancipate means to set free, and emancipation then means the process of setting free. And so the Emancipation Proclamation set free the slaves in the Confederate States. Number 10, what did Susan B. Anthony do? And she fought for women's rights. So Susan B. Anthony was an American woman who worked for women to gain more rights, such as the right to vote. Number 11, name the wars fought by the United States during the 1900s. And there are 5 during the 1900s: World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the Persian Gulf War were all wars fought by the United States during the 1900s. Question 12, who was president during World War I? And that was President Woodrow Wilson. All right, number 13, who was president during the Great Depression and World War II? And the president at that time was Franklin Roosevelt, and he was also known by his initials, FDR. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the president during the Great Depression and World War II. Question 14, what countries did the United States fight in World War II? And there are 3 countries that were our enemies at that time. Japan, Germany, and Italy were the countries that the U.S. fought against in World War II. Question 15, before he was president, Eisenhower was a general. What war was he in? And President Eisenhower, before he became president, was famous for serving as a general in World War II. President Eisenhower. Question 16. During the Cold War, what was the main concern of the United States? And the answer is communism, which is a political system. Communism was our main concern during the Cold War. Number 17. What movement tried to end racial discrimination? And the answer is the Civil Rights Movement. Number 18, what did Martin Luther King Jr. do? He was an American civil rights leader, so he fought for civil rights and worked for equality of all Americans, especially for civil rights for African Americans. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Question 19, what major event happened on September 11 in the year 2001 in the United States? And that was the day when terrorists attacked the United States. Here you can see the World Trade Center in New York after it was attacked. There were also attacks on the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. And question 20, name 3 American Indian tribes in the United States. And here's a rather long list, but it's not even the whole list. The Cherokee, Chippewa, Illini, Osage, Oto, Sioux, Cheyenne, Seminole, Navajo, Blackfeet, Inuit, Pueblo, Lakota. Note that this is not a complete list, but select 3 American Indian tribes and remember them. And some of the largest ones were the Cherokee and the Chippewa. And here in the Missouri area, the Osage and Oto were among the tribes of Native Americans in Missouri. All right, that's it for the study guide for that's it for the study guide for number 5 for the civics test. So when you are ready for the test, ask for it or check Teams to find out when the test will be given in your class.